Hey, what's going on everybody? I'm here with another edition of Tea Tuesday. Now, if you've been following me on my social media and here on the YouTube channel, you would know that I'm in the middle of Vlogmas. And yesterday, day 4 of Vlogmas, I kind of missed the mark, but I still got a video out. Yeah, I still want to bring you a Tea Tuesday today, and as I said last week, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite, if not my most favorite, version of tea, and that is matcha green tea. Now, matcha green tea is a powdered, more of like a pulverized powdered form of really high quality green tea leaves. And that powdered form makes it so that you can actually consume the powder, and it's not like a regular tea where you have to take the tea leaves out in order to avoid a bitter cup of tea. The fact that it's powdered makes it one of the most travel-friendly drinks. You can just bring the powder with you, maybe have a little bit of a sweetener if you want to put something like stevia or monk fruit, which is my favorite, into the tea after you've made it. And then you can have yourself a refreshing cup of tea, especially something like this on a hot Hawaiian day. By the way, I'm not outside right now because it's super loud. It's very windy outside and it just messes up the audio. So I'm just there. I'm almost outside and I want to be, but for now I wanted to make sure I got good audio for this video. And speaking of audio, David is actually right there. So he's clicking away and editing. So you want to say hi?
Hello.
Yep. There he is. So that is the other cup of tea that I made for him. And yeah, so let's talk about how to make this. This little canister holds about 30 grams, and you only need to put about a teaspoon or even less in a full cup of water. And the water can be hot or cold. The typical ceremony involves using hot water and a bamboo whisk that allows you to mix up the water with the powder and break up any clumps that are in there. But we are using a more modern version of this matcha tea, and I'm using a more modern method, which means that I just use any cold water that is available, and I could use cold or hot water like I said, and I just sort of tap a number of the powders into the water, and then I take my favorite tool, the neutraliTEA, that I use for not only this but also for making my bulletproof coffee in the morning, and it is what I use, this milk frother, to agitate the water enough so that it breaks apart at least the majority of all of the clumps. It's enough to make an entire cup of matcha tea in pretty much no time at all. Just get your water, throw some of the powder in, and mix it up. You don't even have to use a tool like the one I'm using now. You can actually just stir it up as long as you're making sure to break up any of the clumps of powder that are in there. Well, it's the 2 o'clock slump. This is the post-lunch slump right here.
2 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
The worst hour.
Actually, I'm messing up in the video a little bit, and I realize that's one of the reasons why I drink tea so much, is because when that 2 or 3 o'clock slump comes around, this kind of gives you a boost of energy, but it also doesn't make you super jittery because it's not like a full cup of coffee. So this is actually a great coffee substitute because there's just enough caffeine in here to kind of give you that extra boost. And that's exactly the reason why I wanted to make it right now. The other thing is that since you're actually drinking the leaves themselves because they've been pulverized into a powder, you're getting even more of the great benefits of green tea. Antioxidants, you're also getting the amino acid L-theanine, which cuts the caffeine a little bit in terms of its effect on you. So you're not getting the jitteriness that you would get with a cup of coffee, like I just said. Instead, you're just getting a very sustainable boost of energy. So I've linked the tea in the description down below, and you can check that out. And like I said, it's one of the most easily accessible versions of matcha tea that is on Amazon, so you can get it even prime shipped and all that. There's another version of it, however, that you might notice that is a little bit cheaper and you can buy it in more bulk, and that's Culinary Grade. Ceremonial grade, which is what David and I are drinking right now, is the kind that is supposed to be used for like a tea ceremony, where you're going to have the best possible flavor profile, and you are supposed to use it in sort of that ritualistic manner. Of course, I did not do that here because I'm traveling with this powder. But the culinary grade is what people tend to use when they are baking or putting the matcha into other places like smoothies or in breads, or if you go to a matcha cafe, you'll see a bunch of different matcha dishes there. So that's what culinary grade is for, and because it is supposed to be a part of a greater dish, it tends to have a much more pungent taste. It's something that you kind of have to train your palate for, so for the most of you out there who are just getting into matcha teas, I would definitely tell you to try ceremonial grade, but if you try culinary grade and you find that that is fine for you in terms of the taste profile, then more power to you. Just get culinary grade. It does tend to be cheaper and you can save a little bit of money that way and still get great benefits from the matcha tea itself. But since there's no time for steeping, there's also really not a whole lot of structure to this video, so I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about net neutrality. Now, I'm sure you're going across the internet right now seeing so many people just post about net neutrality and why it is really important for people like us, people who basically live on the internet, to just get out there and fight, because in a little over a week, the FCC is going to vote on repealing regulations of net neutrality that have been in place since the Obama administration, since 2015. Now, the issue that a lot of people have, and it's pretty unanimous, people from across all party lines are pretty in favor of having truly neutral internet. And the reason why is because allowing corporations the power to be able to control our data and how we use that data is kind of setting a huge precedent. But there are a lot of people out there who are doing a much better job at explaining what net neutrality is and its implications if it gets repealed, and they do it a lot better than I will in this video. What I just wanted to do was just provide a couple of reactions and also provide a couple of scenarios so that you can get a better picture of what your daily usage might end up being like without net neutrality regulations. You might have to pay a certain amount for different tiers of speed from your internet service provider. I use Frontier at my office, which is Fios driven, so I do get really good speeds, but I have to pay a certain amount to get a particular type of speed for download and upload. That's one facet of what we already have as existing in the internet space. But what if you had to pay certain amounts of money for the kind of content you can access? What if you had to pay $5 more to access YouTube, to access HBO, to access Netflix, simply because the internet service provider doesn't really want you to just have that at all times anymore? You have to pay more in order to even get access to it. And there are a lot of people who are saying that this is a slippery slope argument, that the nightmare scenarios that people like us are trying to present and basically fight against are never going to happen because the free market won't allow that to happen. But the infrastructure of internet itself is already kind of messed up, because if you are not happy with the fact that you can't access certain websites or certain content on your service provider, then they tell you, oh, just go to the other one then. But in most regions in the US, you only have one provider, and the other ones are usually either dummy corporations or at the very least just like third-party, very terrible internet service providers that aren't going to give you anywhere near what you're looking for anyway. So in those areas where there's really only one major company that provides the internet, you're kind of screwed. And there's also the whole argument that people are just going to pay the extra because, well, that's just the way that's going to be. If you want to access, let's say, an online game, like, let's say, Overwatch, and you have to pay a little bit more to your ISP, not to Blizzard, mind you, but to your ISP to be able to access the Overwatch servers, then people are just going to have the demand and they're going to pay the extra. But what about those people who can't really afford that? They have to completely change the way that they live their daily lives because now these corporations want to make an extra buck. And I don't really want to draw lines between liberal and conservative, but obviously the people who think that this is a slippery slope argument are also part of a particular group of people who always use that tactic for pretty much everything in the world. Do you remember when we were worried, or people were worried about transgenders being in bathrooms? Well, there was a huge slippery slope argument being used there. How come we can't use it for something as wide-reaching as the internet as well? But before I get too far down the rabbit hole of politics or anything, I just want to say that there are resources out there for everyone to try and make their voice heard, and there's still some time to do it. Like I said, the vote is in a little over a week, and my favorite resource, or the resource that I have used, is battleforthenet.com. I have it pulled up right over here, and I'm just gonna go through it real quick. You do have a quick form on here that will, first of all, write to Congress that you are upset about this potential repeal of net neutrality, but it will also give you a number that you can call so that you can call a local representative in order to make your voice heard as well. There are also resources beneath that to show you where you might be able to go for an actual protest at particular stores or at particular areas in your state or in your city. And below there, it also shows you what websites are supporting the net neutrality regulations and are hoping that they remain in place. And on top of that, internet services like Google are very much for net neutrality. And then finally, there are a number of clips and resources underneath even that tell you exactly what net neutrality is, and you're going to get it explained to you by a bunch of people who are going to do it way better than I did in this video. I just wanted to show a little bit of anger because this is actually an example of why I'm so angry about the way this all went down. You have John Oliver there. You also have a number of YouTubers, but John Oliver obviously was like the main voice of net neutrality first a couple of years ago and then earlier this year again. But it was pretty deliberate, at least in my eyes, that the chairman of the FCC, or maybe just the FCC, planned to do this repeal at a time when John Oliver's not on the air. And of course, they did it during the holiday season when people are more worried about what they're going to buy their families or what they're going to spend their money on over the next month or so, rather than actually trying to make sure that our internet remains the way that it should be. That underhandedness is honestly the main part that really upsets me, that this all has to happen at this moment in time when the people in government actually know that no one's paying attention. Because you know what? The people who are going to benefit from this are the minority compared to the vast majority of people who are very upset about this and are trying to make their voices heard. And like I said, this is not a partisan issue. Everyone in America, pretty much by and large, supports net neutrality. And if you do as well, I would very much encourage you to make sure that you make your voice heard in one way or another. And if all of this does upset you as much as it does me, then you can always check out the matcha tea that I linked in the description down below. But if you at all are interested in any form of tea, this is one great way to start. So I would recommend matcha tea be a good starting point for plenty of you out there who might be interested in drinking something a little bit healthier on the regular. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this edition of Tea Tuesday. I don't even know how well it went. Again, we'll see how the video goes, and you can let me know what you think in the comments down below, and let me know how you feel about net neutrality. And a lot of you are from other parts of the world. Let us know, or let me or us know what your laws are in your country, so we can get some examples of where net neutrality is or isn't and how it affects people in your country. So let us know about that. We'll get the discussion going. You guys have been great in the comment section, so I'm looking forward to reading and responding to all of the things that you say in the comment section. Don't forget to check out other videos from me here at my channel. I got a lot planned, so for now, enjoy the vlogs that I'm going to have for Vlogmas, and right now I'm in Maui, so you're going to see some vlogs from there as well. So I'm going to call it on this video, and thank you so much for watching. Stick around, hit that like button please, and also don't forget to comment like I said, and then subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you want to stick around and see more stuff from me. Whew, that was a good outro. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. So just remember, everybody, enjoy your tea. Oh, I said that wrong. How did I say that wrong? I never say that wrong. Well, that's like me saying we are your source for all Android things. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much again. I already said the spiel from earlier, so I just want to leave this with, remember, enjoy your tea, everybody.